In your book club assignments, you might also be asked to write a letter to a character, giving them advice or telling them something. So I'm going to show you an example of that here by writing a letter to Drew from Sidekicked. You notice that I have the date in the top right-hand corner, and then I have Dear Drew. Letters start with the word dear and then the person's name followed by a comma. Even in our book club assignments, you need to make sure that you're using the correct letter writing format. You don't have to put your address or anything at the top because it's not a business letter. It's a friendly letter. So I've got a capital D for dear, the person's name, and then a comma. Now I need to indent. I can use one finger. You might use two because your fingers are smaller than mine, but I only use one finger. I have to start off with some kind of greeting. So I start off with good old-fashioned hello. I've been reading about you. I know that you think your superpower is lame. Because that's something that we've talked about. He doesn't really like his superpower. And he doesn't like it because he thinks it's lame, because he can't do anything, he's not strong, and it doesn't make him able to pick up more, or it doesn't make him sturdier against danger. So you might say, I know that you think your superpower is lame. And you might give an example. You can't lift a car or turn to stone. You don't know Kung Fu like Eric, and you can't go through walls like Nikki. See, one of the reasons why you do book club assignments is to show me that you're reading and you're understanding the book. It's not just about what you would say to the character. It's also about you explaining to me that you know what's happening. And so by adding these details about Eric and Nikki, I know that you've been paying attention to the story and that you are understanding what's happening in the story. If you don't have enough details, it's really difficult for me to tell whether or not you're understanding what's going on in the book. So in this letter, I'm trying to give him advice about his superpowers, okay? So every so often I need to go back up and see what I've read so far. So far I've said hello, I've talked about how he knows that he doesn't have a good power. So now I might start a new paragraph with a new topic. So I'm going to indent again, and I will say, I still think that having super senses is pretty cool. You've worked hard to control them. And I think back to the book and how he talks about how when he was little, he was always really overwhelmed by them. So it says, you've worked hard to control them. Remember when you were little and you were so overwhelmed? That way Drew knows that he's working hard and that he knows that I think that he's doing a good job. I'm going to think of some ways that he could use his super senses, right? He's still useful. He's still a good hero. You could use your power to check for gas leaks. you could smell smoke before a big fire and save people. If a bus was coming down the street unsafely, you would see it and you'd get people to safety. So now it's time for me to give my letter a conclusion. Because remember, the goal of this letter is to tell him that I see him, I see that he's working hard, I understand his feelings and his frustrations, but he actually has a pretty cool superpower. So I know it can be frustrating, but your power is a gift. You will be a great hero someday. Now I have to give my closing to my letter. So I often want to think about where the middle of the page is, and I look up here between the Dear Drew and the date part, and this is where I get to close it. I can close it with something like your friend, or sincerely, or yours truly. But no matter how I do that, that has a capital letter. Your friend is capitalized, sincerely is capitalized, yours truly is capitalized, and then you have a comma, and then you sign your name. You can print it if you don't know cursive. That's okay. But you do have to have a comma, and you notice that your name goes underneath. It does not go off to the side. Okay? So if you take a look at this letter, this is an example of a friendly letter for book club. Okay? So if you are asked to write a letter to a character for a book club assignment, this is what you would need to do. It doesn't have just 3 sentences, Dear Drew, how are you? I am fine. Sincerely, Miss F. That's not a letter, right? Because one of the goals of all the book club assignments is to make sure that you're reading and you're understanding what you read. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know.